In a story that begins with a bittersweet farewell, Daniel receives an invitation to his ex-girlfriend Claire's wedding, an event that stirs up a whirlwind of emotions. Battling his sense of loss and regret, Daniel finds an unexpected moment of connection with Arlette, a woman whose life has been marked by hardship yet remains full of grace. What starts as a spontaneous act of kindness, inviting Arlette to accompany him to the wedding, blossoms into a profound and transformative experience for both. As Arlette is pampered with a makeover and treated with the dignity she deserves, the two of them embark on a journey that promises a night of elegance and unexpected revelations. At the wedding, their arrival turns heads and sparks curiosity, while Claire's reaction reveals a mix of jealousy and regret. Through their dance and the evening's unfolding events, Daniel and Arlette discover a deeper bond that goes beyond the superficial motives of their initial arrangement. The night reveals not only the depth of their connection but also challenges the superficial judgments of society. It becomes clear that what began as a mere act of defiance has evolved into something more meaningful, reshaping both their lives in ways neither had anticipated. If you are not subscribed, I recommend you subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss any videos. Daniel stood in his opulent apartment, his fingers gripping the luxurious envelope bearing the elegant calligraphy of his ex-girlfriend Claire's wedding invitation. The news of her upcoming marriage struck him harder than he had anticipated. Claire had walked out of his life a year ago, citing his relentless focus on work and his failure to make time for her as the reasons. Now, as he examined the pristine invitation, a wave of sadness and bitterness washed over him. The prospect of attending her wedding alone loomed before him like a shadow, amplifying his sense of dread. Later that day, as Daniel navigated the lively city streets, his thoughts remained preoccupied with the impending event. Amid the hustle and bustle, his gaze fell upon a woman seated quietly on a street corner. Her clothes were tattered and her hair was unkempt, but despite her apparent hardships, she wore a kind and dignified smile. Something about her presence captivated Daniel, compelling him to pause and observe her more closely. "Hi," Daniel ventured, approaching her with a mixture of curiosity and empathy. "My name is Daniel." The woman looked up, momentarily taken aback by the unexpected kindness in his voice. "Hi, I'm Arlette," she responded softly, her smile warm yet tinged with caution. A curious impulse overtook Daniel as they continued their conversation. He was drawn to Arlette's quiet strength and the clarity with which she spoke. Despite the adversity she had faced, she exuded an unshakable kindness and hope. The more Daniel listened, the more he admired her resilience and poise in the face of life's challenges. In a sudden burst of impulsive compassion and a desire to confront his loneliness, Daniel blurted out, "Arlette, would you consider coming to a wedding with me? My ex-girlfriend is getting married, and I could use some company. I'll make sure you have a beautiful dress, a good meal, and a chance to enjoy yourself." Arlette blinked in astonishment, her expression a mix of surprise and uncertainty. "You want me to be your date to a wedding?" she asked, her voice reflecting her disbelief. "Yes," Daniel affirmed with a nod. "Why not? You deserve a day where you feel special, and honestly, I could use someone to share this event with." Arlette hesitated for a moment, her mind racing as she weighed the strange but alluring offer. The idea was unexpected and tantalizing, a far cry from her usual routine. After a few seconds of contemplation, she managed a small, tentative smile and said, "All right, Daniel, I'll go with you." Neither of them could have predicted the profound impact of that decision. As Daniel walked away from the street corner with a sense of quiet anticipation, he had no inkling that Arlette would soon evolve from merely being his wedding date into a pivotal figure in his life. True to his word, Daniel took Arlette to one of the city's most exclusive boutiques. As they stepped through the opulent doors, Arlette's eyes widened in astonishment. The boutique was a haven of luxury, with rows upon rows of meticulously arranged designer dresses, glistening jewelry, and elegant shoes displayed like exquisite works of art. For a brief moment, she felt overwhelmed and out of place amidst the grandeur. But Daniel's reassuring smile and encouraging presence gave her the courage to step forward and embrace the experience. The boutique staff, initially regarding Arlette with a blend of curiosity and indifference, quickly shifted their attitude when they realized that Daniel was there to ensure Arlette found the perfect outfit. With newfound enthusiasm, they brought out their most exquisite dresses, shoes, and accessories, lavishing Arlette with the same meticulous attention and care they would bestow upon any affluent customer. Arlette was swept up in a whirlwind of emotions: excitement, nervousness, and a sense of disbelief as the staff worked their magic. They styled her hair with skill, applied her makeup with an expert touch, and dressed her in a stunning gown that seemed as though it was tailored just for her. When Arlette finally gazed at her reflection in the mirror, she was almost unrecognizable. She saw a woman who was elegant, confident, and radiant. But more importantly, she felt a glimmer of hope and a renewed sense of possibility that she hadn't experienced in a long time. As they emerged from the boutique, Arlette turned to Daniel with a look of profound gratitude in her eyes. "Thank you, Daniel. I've never felt like this before. It's overwhelming, but in the best way." Daniel's smile broadened, his heart warmed by her transformation. "You deserve it, Arlette. You're more than what life has thrown at you." Later that evening, they found themselves in a cozy, quiet cafe where the atmosphere was calm and intimate. It was here, amid the soft hum of conversation and the gentle clinking of cups, that Daniel and Arlette began to peel back the layers of their guarded selves. Arlette opened up about her past, how she had once enjoyed a stable life before a series of misfortunes, including job loss and subsequent hardship, led her to the streets. She spoke candidly about the isolation and struggle she faced, but also about the small, unexpected acts of kindness from strangers that had kept her spirit alive. Daniel listened intently, his respect for Arlette growing with each word. Her resilience in the face of adversity deeply moved him. In return, Daniel shared his struggles, revealing the intense pressure he had felt to excel in his career, which had caused him to neglect his relationship with Claire. He spoke of the guilt and pain from their breakup, and for the first time he felt a sense of relief in being able to discuss his emotions without fear of judgment. In that shared moment of vulnerability, a connection formed between them that neither had anticipated, setting the stage for a bond that would profoundly shape their futures. As their conversation continued, an authentic and profound connection began to take shape between Daniel and Arlette. This bond was founded on deep-seated mutual respect, empathy, and understanding. They discovered solace in sharing their personal stories, coming to realize that despite their disparate backgrounds, they had each battled their struggles and emerged from them stronger and wiser. The much-anticipated wedding day finally arrived. As Arlette stepped out in her stunning gown, she appeared to have undergone a remarkable transformation. This change was not merely superficial, it was evident in the way she carried herself with newfound confidence and dignity. Daniel, seeing her, felt a swell of pride for her and for the personal journey she had traversed over the past few days. "Are you ready?" Daniel inquired, extending his arm to her. Arlette met his gaze with a determined and serene smile. "Yes, I am." Together, they ventured out of the apartment, prepared to embrace whatever the day had in store. Little did they realize that their entrance at the wedding would soon become a focal point of discussion, and that their newly forged connection would be tested in ways neither of them could have foreseen. Upon arriving at the grand venue, the doors opened to unveil a magnificent hall adorned with sparkling chandeliers, impeccably dressed guests, and a live orchestra playing a soft, melodic tune in the background. As they stepped into the room, it was as though time itself slowed. Heads turned in unison, conversations momentarily halted, and all eyes were drawn to them. Arlette, radiant in her elegant dress and exuding an air of newfound poise, walked beside Daniel with a grace that commanded attention. She was no longer the woman who had once stood on the street corner. She was someone who belonged, someone who captivated the room. Whispers began to ripple through the crowd, quickly spreading like wildfire. Guests exchanged puzzled glances, trying to piece together who this striking, enigmatic woman was and why Daniel, her former partner, had chosen to bring her. At the far end of the room, Claire, the bride, was engaged in greeting her guests alongside her new husband. However, when her gaze fell upon Daniel and Arlette, her smile wavered momentarily. The unexpected appearance of Arlette, coupled with the way Daniel looked at her, his eyes filled with admiration and affection, evoked a sense of discomfort within Claire. As Daniel and Arlette navigated through the throng of guests, Daniel made a point of introducing Arlette to those in attendance. Each introduction was met with a mixture of polite but surprised smiles. Arlette maintained her composure with grace and charm, though she could feel the undercurrent of curiosity and judgment from those around her. Nonetheless, she held her head high, determined not to let their reactions diminish her confidence. Eventually, Claire approached them, her expression a blend of politeness and strain. "Daniel, it's good to see you," she said, her gaze briefly flickering to Arlette. "And you must be." "This is Arlette," Daniel replied warmly, his pride evident in his voice. "She's my date for the evening." Claire managed to force a smile, though her discomfort was evident. "Arlette, it's a pleasure to meet you. You look absolutely lovely." "Thank you," Arlette responded, her voice steady and assured. "And you have a beautiful wedding." The air between them crackled with an unspoken tension. Claire struggled to maintain her composure, her heart sinking as she observed Daniel and Arlette together. She had imagined Daniel arriving at the wedding alone, perhaps with a hint of sadness or disorientation. Instead, he seemed more radiant and at ease than Claire had ever seen him, especially beside this woman who had suddenly become so significant. As the evening unfolded, the orchestra began to play a slow, romantic melody that filled the room with an intimate ambience. Daniel turned to Arlette with a warm, inviting smile. "May I have this dance?" Arlette hesitated momentarily, but the genuine warmth in Daniel's eyes encouraged her to agree. He guided her to the dance floor, and as they started to sway to the music, Arlette felt herself relax. The gentle rhythm of the dance, the elegance of the setting, and the soothing melody created a cocoon of tranquility around them. For Arlette, it was a moment of ease and connection. Claire, however, remained on the sidelines, her heart heavy with a mix of jealousy and regret. She watched as Daniel and Arlette moved together effortlessly, their chemistry undeniable. The sight of them made Claire question her own choices, gnawing at her with a sharp sense of remorse. Seeing Daniel so happy and engaged with Arlette forced her to confront her feelings about the breakup and wonder if she had made a mistake in letting him go. Daniel, on the other hand, was experiencing a revelation. As he held Arlette in his arms, he realized that what had begun as a spontaneous decision to attend the wedding with her had evolved into something much more profound. Arlette wasn't just a companion chosen to provoke a reaction from his ex, she was someone he genuinely cared about. The emotions stirring within him during the dance were unexpected and new. For the first time since his separation from Claire, Daniel felt a deep sense of contentment and happiness. As the song drew to a close, Daniel gazed into Arlette's eyes, sensing that their journey together was far from over. What had started as a mere act of defiance had begun to transform into something more meaningful, something authentic. The evening was just the beginning of a story neither of them had anticipated. As the night wore on, the tension in the room became almost palpable. Claire, who had been striving to keep up appearances, found herself increasingly absorbed by the sight of Daniel and Arlette. Every glance in their direction brought a rush of emotion she had tried to suppress. Unable to bear it any longer, Claire sought out Daniel, finding him alone near the garden entrance, away from the din of the reception hall. "Daniel," she said, her voice tight with a mix of frustration and urgency, "can we talk for a moment?" Daniel, sensing the unease in Claire's tone, nodded slowly, his heart heavy with a mix of anticipation and trepidation. "Of course, Claire. What's troubling you?" Claire hesitated, her eyes flickering with a mixture of hesitation and unease. I didn't expect you to bring someone like Arlette to the wedding. It's apparent that she doesn't fit into our usual circle, and I'm worried about the way people might perceive this. It's not just about appearances, I'm concerned about the judgment and the awkwardness this could bring." Daniel's face grew tense, his surprise giving way to hurt. "Claire, Arlette is a wonderful person. Her value isn't dictated by her social standing or her financial situation. Why does it matter what others think? She's here because she deserves to be, and because I believe in her." Claire's composed exterior began to crack, revealing an undercurrent of jealousy and insecurity. "I just don't want you to get hurt, Daniel. You've been through so much already, and I don't think." Her voice faltered, the unspoken fear of Daniel's vulnerability and the discomfort of confronting her own choices hanging heavily in the air. Before Claire could finish her thought, Arlette, having caught enough of the conversation to understand the nature of the exchange, approached them with a calm yet resolute demeanor. Her presence seemed to command respect and attention as she addressed Claire with a measured, unshakable grace. "Excuse me, Claire," she said softly, her voice steady but imbued with a quiet strength. "I couldn't help but overhear. I understand I'm not what you expected, and that's perfectly fine. But Daniel invited me here because he saw something in me that many overlook. We all have our struggles and have needed a second chance at some point. I'm here not just as Daniel's guest, but as a reminder to myself that I'm more than my circumstances." Claire's response was momentarily stifled, her expression a mix of shock and discomfort as she faced Arlette's directness. She had anticipated that Arlette would be intimidated or retreat under such scrutiny, but instead, Arlette stood her ground with unwavering dignity. The emotional intensity of the moment seemed to crystallize in the air, leaving Claire grappling with her preconceptions and insecurities. Daniel looked at Arlette, a profound surge of respect and affection washing over him. He realized that his feelings for her had grown into something far deeper and more genuine than he had initially recognized. Arlette's resilience, her ability to stand up for herself in the face of judgment, and her unwavering grace amid adversity had touched something deep within him. In that instant, Daniel understood that his connection with Arlette was not merely a reaction to his past, but a testament to the true value of her spirit and the depth of their bond. The tension of the exchange was palpable, and it did not go unnoticed by the other guests. Those who had been observing discreetly now saw Arlette in a new light, their whispered judgments giving way to a growing admiration. Arlette's poise and dignity in confronting such a personal and uncomfortable moment left an indelible mark on everyone present. Claire, visibly shaken and uncertain for the first time that evening, mumbled an excuse about needing to attend to her guests. Her quick exit left Daniel and Arlette standing together in the serene garden, the silence between them filled with unspoken understanding and emotional depth. Daniel turned to Arlette, his face softened by gratitude and a newfound sense of appreciation. "Thank you, Arlette. You didn't have to confront Claire like that." Arlette's smile was gentle and filled with warmth, her eyes reflecting the quiet resolve of someone who had faced their struggles with courage. "I know, but I wanted to. You've given me so much tonight, Daniel. The least I could do was stand by you, to show that your kindness and belief in me are not in vain. We all deserve to feel valued and respected, no matter where we come from or what we've endured." At that moment, Daniel's entire focus shifted. The pressure to impress Claire and maintain the facade of their former relationship seemed trivial in comparison to the profound connection he now felt with Arlette. It was as if the evening had orchestrated a beautiful, unplanned symphony that brought him to this new understanding. Arlette, with her quiet strength and unexpected grace, had become the center of his attention. Daniel was humbled by the realization that what he had with Claire was part of a chapter that was now closing. His heart, once tangled in past regrets, now beat with a sense of anticipation for what lay ahead with Arlette. The past had become a distant echo, and the present was illuminated by the potential of a future that felt both exciting and transformative. The weight of his previous concerns had lifted, replaced by a clear vision of moving forward with someone who had reawakened his hope and sense of possibility. As the night began to wind down, Daniel found himself standing alone near the edge of the damp grass, the cool air brushing against his skin. The sounds of the party were a soft murmur in the background, a backdrop to the more profound, personal moment unfolding before him. Claire's approach was tentative, her footsteps almost hesitant on the moist ground. Her eyes, usually so composed, now carried a vulnerability that Daniel had never seen before. It was as if the mask she had worn was slipping, revealing a deeper, more raw emotion. "Daniel, can we talk for a moment?" Her voice was soft and trembling, each word laced with an earnest desire to make amends. Daniel turned to face her, his heart stirring with a mix of curiosity and compassion. He sensed the gravity of her request and welcomed the chance to understand what was driving her sudden openness. "Of course, Claire. What's on your mind?" he asked, his voice steady but gentle. Claire took a deep breath, her eyes locked onto his, as if searching for a way to convey the turmoil she had been grappling with. "I've been reflecting on everything tonight," she began, her voice quivering with the weight of her confession. "Seeing you with Arlette made me realize something profound. I thought you were too absorbed in your work, that you didn't have time for me. But now, witnessing the person you've become, I see how wrong I was. I regret ending things with you. It's not just about the past. It's about a realization that I missed something truly meaningful." Daniel was struck by the intensity of her words. Her confession hit him with unexpected force, and he felt a complex mix of surprise and serenity. The pain and confusion he had harbored about their breakup seemed to dissolve, replaced by a sense of clarity and acceptance. "Claire," he began softly, his voice carrying a depth of sincerity, "I appreciate your honesty and the courage it took to share this with me. But the truth is, I've moved on. Our relationship was important and meaningful. But it belongs to a chapter that is closed. I found peace with that. What we had was real, but it's no longer the present." Claire's eyes glistened with a blend of sorrow and understanding. Her expression reflected the struggle to come to terms with the finality of Daniel's words. "I see," she said quietly, her voice barely audible over the distant sounds of the party. "I'm sorry for how things ended, Daniel. I truly wish you all the best, and I hope you find the happiness you deserve." As Claire walked away, her figure gradually blending into the night's shadows, Daniel felt a profound sense of resolution. The clarity of the moment left him with a feeling of renewal and a deeper connection to his present reality. The night had taken an unexpected turn, but it had also provided him with the emotional space to embrace the future he now envisioned with Arlette. As Claire walked away, Daniel was enveloped by an overwhelming sense of liberation. It was as though, in that fleeting moment of closure, he had shed a heavy burden he had carried for far too long. The anticipated pain of facing Claire again, especially at such a significant event as her wedding, had been replaced by a profound clarity that felt almost cathartic. For so long, the shadow of his past relationship had loomed over him, casting a veil over his present and future. But now, standing amidst the grandeur of the wedding, with Claire's retreating figure marking the end of an era, Daniel felt a weight lift from his shoulders. It was a palpable sensation, as if he had finally extricated himself from the chains of his past, and he stood on the precipice of a new beginning, unburdened and ready to embrace the future. Unbeknownst to Daniel, Arlette had been a silent observer of their exchange. She had sought refuge in the garden, hoping for a moment of quiet amidst the celebration, when the echoes of Claire's confession and Daniel's heartfelt reply reached her. As Arlette stood there, her heart was a tumultuous sea of emotions. She felt a mix of relief that Daniel had moved on from Claire, but it was accompanied by a gnawing sense of unease. Doubts began to creep in, whispering questions she could not easily silence. Was she merely a stepping stone in Daniel's journey toward self-discovery and closure? Was her presence in his life just a reflection of his struggle to move past his former relationship? These thoughts churned within her, casting shadows over the newfound connection she had hoped to cherish. The tranquil garden, bathed in moonlight and shadow, offered Arlette a brief escape from the evening's intensity. She found solace in the solitude of the bench, the cool night air gently brushing against her skin. It was a rare moment of peace, yet her mind was restless. As she sat there, her thoughts were a whirlwind of reflection and emotion. She had come to care deeply for Daniel, feeling a growing bond that was both exhilarating and vulnerable. Yet the lingering doubts about her place in his life were impossible to ignore. Was she truly seen for who she was, or was she merely a symbol of his newfound freedom, a convenient contrast to his past? The questions haunted her, demanding answers before she could fully commit to the future they might share. As the evening progressed and the stars cast their serene glow, Arlette knew she needed to confront these uncertainties. The questions that plagued her were not just about her role in Daniel's life, but about her self-worth and direction. If she was to move forward with him, she needed to understand whether he saw her as an individual or merely as a chapter in his journey. Determined to find clarity, Arlette ventured back into the garden, where Daniel stood alone, his silhouette outlined against the backdrop of the night. Her approach was a mixture of courage and vulnerability, knowing that this conversation held the potential to reshape their future together. With every step she took toward him, the weight of her doubts grew heavier, and she hoped that this moment would provide the answers she so desperately sought. "Daniel," she began softly, her voice steady yet trembling with emotion, "I need to ask you something." Taking a deep breath, Arlette faced Daniel with a mixture of determination and vulnerability. Her voice trembled slightly as she spoke. "Daniel, I need to ask you something important. Was I just a pawn in your plan tonight? Was this whole evening about making Claire jealous? Because if it was, I need to know right now. I won't be used as a mere tool for someone else's emotional closure." Daniel's heart sank as he realized how his actions might have been misinterpreted. The weight of his intentions collided with the reality of Arlette's feelings. He had been so wrapped up in the whirlwind of the evening, caught between his lingering emotions and the desire to move forward, that he hadn't fully grasped how Arlette might be feeling. He took a step closer to her, his face etched with regret and genuine concern. His eyes met hers, revealing the depth of his remorse. "Arlette," he said, his voice earnest and filled with regret, "I'm so sorry if I made you feel that way. That was never my intention when I first invited you. I'll admit it was partly driven by my emotional turmoil, maybe even a touch of pride or a need to assert myself. But what I didn't expect was how deeply I'd come to care for you. I didn't foresee this connection growing into something meaningful. I was so focused on my feelings and trying to move on from the past that I failed to recognize how much I would come to value you." Arlette's eyes searched his, desperately seeking any sign of insincerity. Her heart ached with the fear of being deceived, but there was something in Daniel's gaze that spoke to her deeper emotions. "So this isn't just about proving something to Claire." Daniel shook his head firmly, his voice now imbued with conviction and tenderness. "No, it's not. Claire is part of my past, and tonight I found a sense of closure with that. But what I've discovered about you, your strength, your kindness, and the way you've handled everything tonight, it's opened my eyes to something I didn't know I was missing. I'm not thinking about Claire anymore. I'm thinking about you and how much I want to understand and experience more of what we have." A wave of relief and emotional release washed over Arlette as she heard Daniel's heartfelt confession. His words touched her deeply, easing the tension she had felt all evening. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe in the possibility of something genuine between them, something that went beyond the immediate reactions of the night. "Thank you for being so honest with me," Arlette replied, her voice soft and emotional. "I care about you too, Daniel. But I needed to be sure that this wasn't just a fleeting moment, something temporary and driven by past resentments." Daniel gently took her hand in his touch both reassuring and sincere. "It's not, Arlette. I can't predict the future, but I know that I want to spend more time with you. I want to explore where this connection can lead, to see where it might take us. What we have is more than just a reaction to the past, it's the beginning of something real and meaningful." In that intimate moment, the bond between them deepened profoundly. Both Daniel and Arlette recognized that what they were experiencing was more than a transient response to their previous relationships. It was the start of a new and genuine connection, filled with potential and promise. Looking back at the bustling reception, the clamor of guests and the superficiality of the celebration felt distant and irrelevant. Daniel felt an intense desire to escape the facade and embrace the sincerity of the moment with Arlette. He turned to her, sensing that she shared his feelings. "Why don't we get out of here?" Daniel suggested with a hopeful smile. "Let's spend the rest of the evening somewhere else, just the two of us." Arlette's face brightened with a heartfelt smile, her heart swelling with warmth and hope. "I'd like that," she said softly. As they left the reception behind, their steps felt lighter and their hearts more aligned. The evening ahead promised a new chapter, one filled with authenticity and the potential for a deeper connection. Together, they quietly slipped away from the wedding, leaving behind the stifling atmosphere of judgment and whispered gossip. The grandeur of the venue and its clamor slowly faded into the distance as they ventured into the night, their steps echoing with a newfound sense of freedom. The cool night air enveloped them, and the stars above seemed to shine with an added brilliance, as if to celebrate their escape and their burgeoning connection. Hand in hand, Daniel and Arlette walked with a purpose, each step marking a departure from their past and a journey toward a future defined by their terms. As they moved further from the event, the cacophony of the wedding dissolved into a serene silence, replaced by the intimate, heartfelt conversation between them. Daniel felt a profound sense of peace and optimism, a stark contrast to the turmoil he had felt earlier in the evening. Turning to Arlette, his eyes gleamed with a renewed resolve, one that extended beyond the confines of the night's events. "Arlette," Daniel began, his voice steady and earnest, "I don't want tonight to be a fleeting moment. I want to be there for you, to support you, and to explore where this connection could lead. You have so much potential, and I'm committed to helping you pursue your dreams. I want us to build something meaningful together." Arlette's gaze met his, her heart swelling with a mix of deep gratitude and burgeoning excitement. "Thank you, Daniel. You can't imagine what this means to me. For the first time in years, I feel like I have a real chance to turn my life around. To have someone believe in me like this, it's more than I ever hoped for." As they continued their walk, the night unfolded with the promise of new beginnings. They delved into conversations about Arlette's aspirations, dreams that had long been overshadowed by the weight of her past struggles. Daniel listened intently, offering encouragement and brainstorming ways they could work together to bring her dreams to life. With each word of support, Arlette felt her confidence grow, her resolve strengthening with every step they took. Back at the wedding, Claire watched from a distance, her heart heavy with an overwhelming sense of loss. The sight of Daniel and Arlette walking away, their connection so palpable and genuine, struck her with the painful realization of what she had sacrificed. She had once believed she would always hold the upper hand, that Daniel's feelings for her would remain unwavering. But seeing him now, truly happy and moving forward with someone else, she confronted the stark truth of her own mistakes. Claire was left grappling with regret, understanding that she had let go of something precious, a love she had taken for granted. As Daniel and Arlette reached the end of the path leading away from the wedding venue, they paused to take in the view of the city lights below. The moment was charged with a sense of finality, not of an ending, but of an exciting new beginning. The future, once uncertain, now seemed filled with promise and opportunity. "This feels like the start of something good," Arlette said softly, her hand squeezing Daniel's in a gesture of shared hope and anticipation. "It does," Daniel agreed, his smile reflecting a deep sense of contentment. "And I'm eager to see where it takes us." With that, they continued their journey into the night, united by their shared hopes and dreams. Their past no longer defined them. Instead, they faced the future with a sense of renewal and boundless potential. Together, they embraced the journey ahead, ready to confront whatever challenges and opportunities lay in wait. Their story, now intertwined with love, growth, and endless possibilities, was just beginning. As we wrap up this touching story, we've witnessed how an unexpected encounter and a single act of kindness can lead to profound changes in our lives. Daniel and Arlette's journey reminds us of the power of empathy, the importance of seeing beyond appearances, and the incredible potential for growth and connection that can come from the most unexpected places. So, what have you learned from this story? How has it inspired you to see your own life and relationships in a new light? Share one thing you've learned and how you plan to apply it in your life in the comments below. If you like this video, please leave your comment below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more uplifting content and inspiring stories. Thank you for watching.